The future of a Mars colony. According to Wikipedia, the word colony comes from the Latin word colonia. This in turn derives from the word colonus, which means colonist, but also implies a farmer. Colon is an example of a settlement preserving its etymology. Other less obvious settlements that began as Roman colonia include cities from Belgrade to York. A telltale sign of a settlement once being a Roman colony is a city center with a grid pattern. The terminology is taken from architectural analogy, where a column pillar is beneath the often stylized head capital, which is also a biological analog of the body as a subservient beneath the controlling head, with capital coming from the Latin word caput, meaning head. So colonies are not independently self-controlled, but rather are controlled from a separate entity that serves the capital function. Now, we all understand that for a colony to be substantiable, it will need a minimum amount of people. In the case of a colony in Mars, who would populate it? We can think that all of them will be the best Earth has to offer in their respective fields. At least that would be the logical thing to do. You don't want to send a bad botanist to Mars and have your colony starve. So they will need to have the astronaut personality. These people have been described as adventurous but not reckless. They must be leaders who can also follow. They tend to be optimists, doers rather than thinkers, people accustomed to success, confident in their abilities, and good at compartmentalizing doubt and fear. There's a great deal of similarity in personality, said Dr. Patricia Santi, a former flight surgeon with the shuttle program and the author of Choosing the Right Stuff, the psychological selection of astronauts and cosmonauts. All of them are more similar to each other than they are to the average person on the street. So, we will have a colony in another planet. And experience tells us that colonies become countries. They usually fight independence wars. And how were those colonists of the past? I assume we could describe them as adventurous but not reckless. They must be leaders who can follow. They tend to be optimists, doers rather than thinkers, people accustomed to success, confident in their abilities, and good at compartmentalizing doubt and fear. As you can see, they can be described the same way as astronauts. We can see examples of this not long ago. The United States, who after becoming a colony in 1607, became a nation in 1776, just 169 years later. Australia, which after being a penal colony since 1778, then became a federated Australian Commonwealth on January 1st, 1901, just 123 years later. I don't see a way this colony follows a different course than the majority of the colonies in the past. More examples of this are all the Latin American and Caribbean countries which fought their independence wars against the Spanish, Portuguese, and French monarchies between 1804 and 1810. Colonies will do that. In the past, it took weeks or even months to travel from the empire to the colonies. News were few and apart. The colonies had to decide for themselves and had very little help from the empire. Until in time the colony saw that it didn't need that imperial government. The colonists felt for their land, which was not that place at the other side of the ocean. The situation in Mars would be the same. Keep in mind there is a 13-minute lag just in talking. In a short time after the colony becomes self-reliant, a system of government will be needed, and that system will not resemble Earth's at all. It will have to be tailor-made for Mars. Scientific advances will come. For example, imagine a new fusion reactor is created in Mars. Will the Martians share it with Earth? Maybe they won't. Not because of greed or selfishness. Maybe it could be contempt, or the thought that Earth would weaponize it, or that its possession could cause a global conflict. And in turn, Earth, if they found out and decided to come and get it, they would cause an interplanetary conflict. I'm sure everybody who goes will be made to sign a contract. But how can this contract be enforced from a distance of 63,824 million kilometers? Also, would someone accept that his or her life would be governed by a contract? So, at least in my opinion, Earth will have a colony on Mars. For a short time, maybe 200 to 300 years at the most. Then in time, those who came from Earth will be fewer, and those locally born will thrive. Those born in Mars will be sons and daughters of the best of the best. They will not see kindly to be governed by people lesser than them, people who don't have a clue of what the challenges of living in Mars are.